EasyJet to cut further breakouts over the summer leaves. EasyJet has blazoned plans to cut further breakouts over the busy summer period. The airline has scrapped 7 of the 000 breakouts anticipated to run between July and September. It comes after Gatwick said it will cut the number of breakouts taking off from its field during the peak summer season because of staff dearths. Away, Heathrow has asked airlines flying from 2 of its outstations to cut 10 breakouts on Monday, following problems recycling baggage. The field has not verified how numerous services are affected. Knockouts of thousands of passengers have been hit by cancellations and detainments in recent weeks, with several left stranded during the half-term leaves. Hundreds of breakouts across the UK were cancelled during the week of the Platinum Jubilee, and enterprises have been raised about further trip straights during the summer. The dislocation has been caused by several factors, but staff dearths have left the aeronautics assiduity floundering to manage with resurgent demand. EasyJet verified there would also be flight cancellations at other airfields across the airline's network including Amsterdam's Schiphol Mecca, but it has not yet worked out a precise number. Last week, Schiphol said it would limit the number of passengers allowed at the field over the summer, leading to a 16 fall in planned breakouts also due to staff dearths. EasyJet said guests would be given advance notice and the eventuality to rebook indispensable breakouts. It added numerous would be suitable to rebook on the same day they had first planned to travel. T said in recent weeks the sector had endured an unknown ramp-up in demand for trips, with April and May passenger figures reaching 7 times more advanced than the same months last time. EasyJet's principal superintendent, Johan Lundgren, said the airline would generally operate about 000 breakouts during the summer months. He apologized that the company had not been suitable to deliver the service that guests have come to anticipate from us, and he anticipated the airline to be suitable to reaccommodate passengers. I cannot tell you how numerous breakouts will be impacted, he said. It would be misleading for me to give any figures moment because we simply do not know. The airline said it was canceling the breakouts to make fresh adaptability, in the face of functional issues including staff dearths in ground running and at airfields as well as air business control detainments. Coupled with field caps, we're talking preemptive conduct to increase adaptability over the balance of summer, including a range of farther flight connections in the affected airfields, giving advance notice to guests, and we anticipate the vast majority to be rebooked on indispensable breakouts within 24 hours, Mr. Lundgren added. Can you get compensation if your flight is cancelled? Still, you have the right to either a full refund or a relief flight, if your flight is cancelled. And that different flight doesn't need to be with the same carrier, it can be a volition, as long it flies on the same day, says Julia Lobu, CEO of Advantage Travel Partnership. Still, it'll reimburse you, if you and the airline cannot agree on a new flight. Still, you may also be entitled to compensation, but only if the airline is at fault, if the flight was cancelled with 14 days or lower notice. Still, you are entitled to compensation, but if it's the field, if it's a direct result of the airline. He said EasyJet was trying to retain from a tighter labor request, but added the main problem was not in the reclamation of staff, but in the time it was taking identity checks to be reused so they're suitable to work. We've signed further cabin crew than we've ever done, he said. It's been slow to get people in the system, not so much the face we've been floundering to the novitiate. Still, Mr. Lundgren said the company was having to turn down EU operations for jobs because of Brexit, which had also contributed to the lower pool of implicit workers. We turned down 000 aspirants from the EU, he said, equating to 40 of all people applying for jobs. I am not condemning. But of course, it has an impact. It's just lower, it's just calculi. The Department for Transport has been communicated for comment. Airlines have been criticized in recent weeks for taking further bookings than they can manage following steep staff cuts during the height of COVID when trips ground to a halt. But assiduity leaders have argued the government could have done further to support the sector during the epidemic. It has also called for immigration rules on hiring overseas workers to be relaxed to plug staff dearths, but Transport Secretary Grant Shapps ruled out such a move. Following a surge of cancellations and detainments at airfields, the Department of Transport and the Civil Aviation Authority wrote to airlines telling them to review their schedules and to cancel breakouts that couldn't be delivered at the foremost possibility. British Airways chaos, 000 breakouts cancelled and possible staff strike. British Airways passengers face further chaos as staff vote in favor of a summer vacation strike. The carrier's cabin crew and ground staff have suggested overwhelmingly artificial action, with 97% of those polled voting in favor. The check the rearmost sign of uneasiness at the beleaguered carrier does not authorize strike action, which can only be approved by a formal vote. Still, with hundreds of BA breakouts taking off every week, any dislocation would beget mass chaos. The vote result is no surprise, said a prophet for Unite, the union representing OOO-BA workers. To anyone that has flown on British Airways lately, this inviting exemplary ballot result will come as no surprise, they said. British Airways operation now can no longer ignore the universal disgruntlement across their own pool, in the way they've ignored the requirements of their own guests. The ballot is a worrying development for the airline, which was later forced to cancel OOO breakouts in its March-October schedule. On top of this, 15 to 20% of BA trippers on cancelled breakouts still won't be at their destination 24 hours after they were meant to arrive. So how did effects get so bad, and is the end in sight? How numerous breakouts has British Airways cancelled? British Airways has had a delicate couple of months. Under short staffing pressure, the airline blazoned last month that it had reduced its schedule by 10% around OOO round passages between March and October. The carrier claimed that guests would be notified of these planned cancellations in advance, and would be entitled to seats on other breakouts. Still, passengers are also entitled to financial compensation, if the cancellation was blazing lower than a fortnight in advance. But social media is nevertheless full of BA guests venting their wrathfulness. It's shocking that you can just ruin someone's vacation that they've worked hard to save for by transferring a textbook 12 hours before departure. BA should be ashamed of itself, social media stoner Michael posted. Other guests complained about being demurred off breakouts at the veritably last nanosecond. Absolutely shocking, twittered Lucy Jones, of British Intelligence. Just got to Heathrow Airport to be told by @British_Airways they've overbooked our flight and we can't fly. How did they allow this to be? APA prophet conceded that recent weeks have been challenging for the entire assiduity. At British Airways we are fully concentrated on three precedences: our guests, supporting the biggest reclamation drive in our history, and adding our functional adaptability, they said. We have taken action to reduce our schedule to help give certainty to our guests and are giving them maximum flexibility to either rebook with us or another airline as close to their original departure time as possible, or to admit a full refund. How did effects get so bad, and will they get worse? The global aeronautics assiduity has cut an estimated 4 million jobs since the launch of the epidemic. When COVID predicated nearly all of its airplanes, BA removed OOO jobs. So now, as the world reopens, the flagship carrier has to ramp up from 30% capacity to 80% capacity with an extensively reduced platoon, and a critical deficit of baggage instructors. It's also facing record figures of absenteeism due to COVID cases. The chaos has hit BA where it hurts the pocketbook. First quarter operating losses were €754 million, far worse than critic vaticinations of €510 million. Faced with a delicate profit periphery and angry guests, BA is scrabbling to renew normal service. How is BA planning to fix the problems? The carrier plans to hire OOO staff this time. There's no deficit of aspirants further than OOO people have applied for a job at the airline, but the hiring process is laggardly due to government-commanded security vetting procedures. In order to bypass British red tape recording, BA plans to open a crew base at Madrid Barajas Field. It has also espoused aircraft and crew from its One World mate Finnair to try to stabilize its schedules over the summer. But the possibility of striking staff could throw these recovery plans into chaos. Will BA staff strike this summer? Following this week's exemplary ballot, a strike is looking decreasingly likely. BA staff will probably take a formal vote on strike action soon if pay controversies are not settled. The GMB and Unite unions, which represent thousands of BA workers, said members were furious because a 10% pay cut assessed on them during the epidemic has not been reinstated. Under the cover of COVID, British Airways used the contemptuous fire and rehire practice to slash check heft and ground instructors' pay by 10%, said Sharon Graham, Unite General Clerk. GMB union representatives advised that the artificial action could trash numerous people's summer leaves if it goes ahead, prompting BA to hike worker pay. Meanwhile, The airline described history's ballot result as disappointing. This isn't a ballot for artificial action, and while not surprising given the issues across the transport sector, it's disappointing, a prophet said. After a deeply delicate 2 times which saw the business lose further than £4 billion, we still offered payment to our associates for this time. We remain married to open and honest addresses with our trade unions about their enterprises. Strike or no, trippers are gearing up for a summer of winding ranges and long detainments. According to Airline Council International modeling, detainments and cancellations are ineluctable at 2/3 of European airfields this summer.